So thanks everybody for coming to the third Camera Ready Zoom meeting. I hope these have been helpful to you. This is going to be a little different because I wanted to introduce everybody to the team at Georgia Power. Georgia Power has been very helpful to us, to our office, and to location scouts over the past couple of years, especially with everything from finding shooting locations, unique shooting locations, to handling power and lighting needs and helping with contracts and things like that. They've been a real help to us. And so I wanted to introduce them to you and have them kind of walk through what they do. And there are some things that you might be able to use on their site to find locations in your community, and also just to answer Georgia Power related questions when you have someone shooting in your area. So we right now have Evan Cohn on the call. He is the senior counsel there. He is in his 8th year at Georgia Power. He primarily specializes in real estate, but he frequently guest stars as an entertainment attorney. So now he's a big shot. Evan, can you kind of go through in a little more detail what you do over there, and then we'll start talking about the resources that you guys have down at the office?
Sure, yeah. So one thing I'll mention, I just tried to share my screen, and I think because it's the first time I've ever tried to do that through Zoom, I may briefly have to jump off right before I may have to close the app and then get back on to like reset the setting, the like privacy setting.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a minute, and maybe Mike will join us in the meantime. But
and let me mention one thing. I forgot to mention that everyone knows this by now, but I am recording this meeting because there are people that could not attend. So just so everybody knows, you're being recorded, but I'm sure you're fine with that. So anyway, sorry, Evan.
That's okay. Yeah, so I'll give you a little background of how we kind of got into the film and TV industry over the last 8 years or so. So when I started at Georgia Power, it was right around, a little bit after, but right around the time when film production and TV production was kind of really taking off in Georgia. And at that time, when I first started in 2012, I think we had maybe one request that year. And I did not handle that very first request, but someone in the legal department at that time kind of let a production come and film for free at a power plant, and that all went fine. It was not inside of the power plant. It was kind of off in the periphery. But the next request we got that came into our company, the manager of our department at the time asked me to take a look at it and see if we could help. And so we did, and that at that time, again, we let them do it for free, but at least this time I kind of created a contract to protect our company as best we could and make sure there were certain guidelines everybody had to follow, and that we had the right to say no if there was something we weren't comfortable with. But we were pretty easy to work with. We were accommodating up to a point. I mean, we were never, and we still are never going to do anything that would endanger our facilities and potentially cause something like a blackout in a section of a city or county. But after those first two, we kind of started to, I guess, get known as a company that was starting to be a little film friendly and willing to work with productions, because Georgia Power's main company philosophy for the last 100 or so years has been to help the state of Georgia grow. And we know in the back of our minds that if we help the state of Georgia grow, in theory, demand for electricity will also grow. So it's somewhat self-interested by Georgia Power, but we also really genuinely want to help the state of Georgia grow and do better and bring businesses and industries to Georgia. and keep the ones that are already here rather than, you know, have them look elsewhere. And so the same applies to the film and television industry here. And so over the years, we've started charging what we deem to be a reasonable amount for when productions want to come film on our properties. But we make an effort not to be, you know, quote, greedy. We're not looking to get rich as a company off of this industry. We've got our own industry we specialize in, which is making power. But at the same time, it's unfair to our ratepayers if we are incurring any costs to help the industry, because we shouldn't be. We don't want to come out of our own pocket for any money to help a film get the footage they need. So we will charge, you know, a reasonable location fee. We will get reimbursed if we have to have extra security or have somebody work overtime to help supervise a film. We will recoup those costs on behalf of our ratepayers so that we don't end up spending their money to help a film that already has probably a good budget. And so even though we have charged, and, you know, used to not charge a fee, have now started charging a fee and charging to be reimbursed for any expenses we incur, we still, I believe, and Craig maybe can speak to this more than I can because he may hear comments, but I think we have the reputation as a company of being very film friendly and being easy to work with and accommodating. We try to be nice people. And as a result, I mean, we're not out there really advertising or marketing ourselves that much, but we have gotten every year more and more film requests. And part of that is just the growth of the industry as a whole in Georgia. But I think it's also a testament to both Mike and his efforts, and hopefully a little of my efforts too, trying to be, like, my job as the lawyer is really to protect Georgia Power's interest. And I try to do that while also being as film friendly and accommodating as we reasonably can be. And so we've had some great films and a bunch of TV shows find properties and facilities that we own that we may have never even thought of as being, you know, a great place to film a movie. One example is what's behind me. This is one of our power plants, Plant Shearer, and it's a big coal power plant near Juliet, Georgia, which is, if you've ever seen Fried Green Tomatoes, that's near where the Whistle Stop Cafe is. But this does not look like a place you'd want to film a movie, but that is actually where several different scenes were filmed for a movie called First Man, which was basically about the first lunar landing and the lead up to that. And that scaffolding you see right there happened to have an elevator that runs along the outside of it, and that looked almost exactly like the elevator that they rode up to the top of the rocket to get in there and blast off for the moon. And so if you change that scaffolding from yellow to red, which is easy for them to do in post-production, all of a sudden it looks like a NASA launch facility. And so we figured out a way. It was a little daunting at first because you don't normally invite hundreds of strangers into a power plant to do essentially what they wish. But they had a big crew and a big cast, but we figured it all out over a period of weeks, and they were very happy with what they got. And so that's one example of what we've been able to do. And yeah, as we've done more of these, I think we'll still, especially the first time we get a request at a different facility that's never done it before, there'll be people within the company that are a little skittish, as they probably should be. But what we've learned over the years is that these productions, for the most part, are every bit as safety conscious as we are, and they're not there to just, you know, run amok all over our property and do whatever they want. They want some guidance, and they want to get the footage they need, but also keep us happy, because they know if they burn a bridge once, they may never get to go back to Georgia Power property. And fortunately for us, we own a lot of properties all over the state, and some of them are, you know, what I would refer to as ugly industrial properties, and others are beautiful forests and lakes and rivers and that sort of thing. But we've got a wide range of different properties, and now that they know we're nice to deal with, they call us frequently. And I will mention also, when a film approaches us, we don't just say, oh yes, we've got that type of property. We will, if we know of something better or equivalent that is located elsewhere in the state, we will propose that, and we try to help the productions find what they need, rather than, even if we don't own it, rather than try to like force them to use one of our properties. Mike and a whole group at Georgia Power know a ton of properties all over the state and help steer films with people like Craig, help steer those films to really get what they are looking for, rather than what we hope they're looking for. So I don't know if that's what you were hoping for, Craig. Uh-oh, now you're on mute.
No, I was going to say that's a pretty good winging it job there, Evan. I appreciate it. So what are the, I mean, what are the requests that you all get at your office, other than the obvious would be the abandoned power plants? That's something location scouts have always told us they're interested in, not just for, you know, movies that are set in that kind of environment, but like post-apocalyptic type storylines. But what else does Georgia Power typically have in its inventory that might be useful?
I mean, believe it or not, office space. We've had a bunch of films and TV shows and even some commercials. They're just looking for, you never know what exactly they're looking for, but they may be looking for an office space that looks like it was built and is still in the 90s. Sometimes they may be looking for something in the 80s, sometimes in the 2010 time frame. But each office, depending on when it was built or when it was last renovated, will have it'll be dated to a certain extent. And we're not that good at picking out those dates ourselves, but when they ask us, can we come take a look at our headquarters, which is at 241 Ralph McGill Boulevard, even certain floors within that building, as one department might renovate, all of a sudden that's like that's a 2020 looking office space. But you may go one floor below, and the last time that department got renovated was 1999. And so there will be a very different look to each floor. And so as these scouts, it's kind of funny to watch them walk around our building, because we don't always know exactly what they're looking for, but they do. And when they stumble onto a conference room or a set of cubicles or an office, or just look at certain carpeting on a floor, they'll be like, oh, this is perfect. So it's that kind of stuff. We've had, as you said, we've had films that are looking for kind of industrial, gritty looking facilities. And they always ideally would want a vacant power plant, because then they don't have to worry about sound and noise, really. They can kind of create the sound they want. But unfortunately, what we've experienced several times with power plants that are kind of sitting there unused and on the chopping block for demolition is that it does not make financial sense for Georgia Power, and again, for its ratepayers, to put a pause on plans to demolish a big power plant that they are no longer using. And so we've had a few films that said, oh, we would love to come shoot there for a few weeks, but unfortunately, by the time they'd be ready to film, that power plant is already on its way towards demolition, and we can't really stop that train. But they have figured out ways to film inside of power plants that are operating. And they just, I think a lot of it, they'll just end up putting in the sound they need later and editing out all of the noisy power plant sound, which is what they did with First Man and some of the other stuff that's filmed at power plants. There was
MacGyver.
MacGyver has filmed at one of our training facilities, one of our dams, and they've filmed at one of our plants as well. And we've had commercials film. We had a Shaquille O'Neal Epson commercial film at Mike's office, actually, which is separate from our building at 241. They liked the boardroom or the office space or the conference space there. I have not seen that commercial on TV yet, but I'm sure it's coming. It should be funny. We get all sorts of requests. We've had, a lot of times we'll just get requests to use some extra land for parking, or an existing parking lot for some parking for a base camp. So a good example of that is over in Virginia Highland, you can't see it from the Beltline unless you know what you're looking for, but right next to the Beltline, we've got a pretty big facility that has a sizable parking lot. And I think parking has become a lot tougher, or at least affordable parking has become a lot tougher for these productions to find, especially in Atlanta, near downtown or near midtown, or even in some of the neighborhoods, because so much over the last 10 years, so much development has taken place where what was once a vacant or at least flat parking lot in Midtown has now been demolished and is being turned into condos or apartments or high-rise offices. And so the parking has become harder and harder for them to find. And the existing parking lots, kind of their go-tos, I think I don't know if wised up is the right word, because I think they're going to end up hurting themselves in the long run, but they know they've got a valuable commodity, and their prices they're trying to charge these productions have gone up, 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 and the productions don't like that. And so we'll get requests, especially if it's on a weekend, to use some of our 241 headquarters parking lots where we know they're going to be empty during the weekend, except for a handful of cars, or even in the evenings, or if we don't have any big meetings going on, we might be able to spare some parking and let them set up a base camp at one of our facilities. And we've gotten a bunch of requests along those lines too. But there's no way to predict it, and we just kind of wait for the phone to ring, and then when it rings, we try to be proactive and help those productions find what they're looking for, whether it's our parking lot, or if they tell us where they're going to be filming and we don't have anything near there, Mike and his group in economic development have access to all sorts of maps and data and resources where they can find, using very specific search criteria, what a production is looking for, and then point them in that direction.
Yeah, I just, speaking of that, Jennifer Bowen in Augusta sent me a question via chat. If it's possible to provide a list of Georgia Power office space that's available in the Augusta area. Is it something that's pretty easy to get together and send if someone asked?
Oh yeah, let me see. I don't know when a good time for me to jump off and reset this security setting for this Zoom thing is, but we have a website. It's pretty easy to remember. It's just Georgia Power, Georgia all spelled out, so not GA. It's georgiapowerfilm.com. And on there, you can go, I think not all of our properties, but most of our properties are listed on there And I believe you can search, let's see if I type in office. Georgia Power corporate office. Yeah, it's got a list of a bunch of our offices. You can kind of tailor down your search to find the area of the state you're looking for. So you can either use that website and search yourself, or Mike, who unfortunately, he could be having technical difficulties. I don't know where he is right now, but part of his main job over the last few years has morphed from being an engineer in our economic development group to, he's not, I don't think 100% film oriented at this point, but a huge percentage of his workload now is working within the industry and fielding requests and helping productions and helping cities or even individual property owners he's like a liaison to help the industry. And so if somebody needed to call or needed to know, Georgia Power, what facilities do you have available that, our office spaces in Augusta, you could try to search it yourself, or you could shoot Mike an email or give Mike a quick call, and he's like a guru on that stuff. He could probably find it in a matter of seconds and shoot a list to you. He's got.
And I'll email everybody your information and Mike's information and the website. I was going to say maybe what I could do is, what was the address you just gave a minute ago?
GeorgiaPowerFilm.com.
Greg?
Yeah.
I just talked to Mike.
Yeah.
He thought it was Tuesday. He'll be on in a minute.
Okay.
It is. It's easy to lose track of days lately, isn't it?
Thank you for filibustering, Evan.
Yeah, no problem.
You're very good at it. All right, I'm going to share my screen in the meantime, just so y'all see the site. All right, you see it? Does everybody see it?
Yeah.
Good. If there's somewhere you want me to go here, I'll play Mike while we're waiting on him.
Yeah, so let's see if we can. Well, okay, so if you click on the home button at the top left, and you'll see down here, we've got, and I think they're still updating and refining this, but if you click on that first bullet point, they've got a whole list of like all of our various.
I'm clicking on home, and I'm not doing it right.
Oh no! Well, you're in the right spot.
Okay.
So scroll down, or just take your arrow down to the first bullet point on the left.
All right, let me get to my.
And you see where it says click here to see photos of our properties.
I'm trying to see how I can scroll. Hold on. Now I'm winging it. I hate to say it, but I don't know how to scroll down the page.
Huh, I can see it on your screen on the left-hand side, but maybe you can't.
You see the bullet points?
Yeah. Oh, well, now you've clicked on something else. So go click on home again, that house icon, and then just go down like 6 or 7 lines and you'll see.
Click here?
Yeah, click here, and it'll take you to a bunch of different photos of our some of our various properties.
All right, here we go.
And you got plants, you got probably some dams, some office space. And so I think Mike and Jeff DeWitt and others in Mike's group have slowly but surely been adding on to these various photo albums, basically, that scouts can take a look at, or anyone can take a look at, to give you some idea of what types of things we own and that might be available for filming. And then it's still, the scouts, they're not just going to look at a picture and say, oh, I like that, the lake, that lake right there. They're going to call and say, I saw your lake I saw your dock on your website. I want to come take some photos of my own. Because they'll photograph spots in the way they think will help sell a location on a director or someone else in the decision-making tree for a film or TV show.
But this is good because everybody can see that it's more than just power plants. We have lots of lakes here. We have airport hangars. We have office space. And a lot of these are probably in the communities that some of the folks on the call represent. So,
yeah. So if you click on,
yeah, which one do you want me to click on? Anything in particular?
Yeah, if you scroll down to near the bottom, and this is a good example of kind of a success story. That Grady substation right there. It looks like we've only got 3 photos, but that photo there, I took that early morning. It was sometime in July of, I want to say like might have been 2014, 2015. And this is inside of a big operating substation, not too far from where like Zoo Atlanta is. But it feeds a pretty sizable portion of that area of town. And it was the first time we had ever had a request to film inside of a substation. Everybody's first reaction was absolutely not. The answer is no, because a substation doesn't look like anything important is going on inside there. If you're just looking or listening, you can hear a hum. But there are huge amounts of electricity flowing through these substations and then being sent out, coming into and then being sent out of substations at various voltages to serve communities. And if you touch the wrong thing, you can cause a blackout, or even worse, somebody could get seriously injured or potentially killed. So we don't normally let people in there, but we had a request from a big film that was they needed a substation because part of the scene they were filming, this was one of the Captain America movies, Civil War, I believe. And they needed a substation that looked like it was in Berlin, Germany, which ours does not look like that, but it looks like a substation. And through their movie magic, they put a bunch of signage that was all in German on the outside of the fence, and they created a huge sign that went above the brick control house to cover up our Georgia Power sign. And they magically made that thing look like it was a cracked concrete sign that had been there for 50 years. But when you watch the movie, it looks like when they pan away from the substation, it looks like it's sitting in the middle or on the outskirts of Berlin, Germany. But we, through a series of meetings and discussions and getting a contract in place that was one of the few instances, along with Plant Shearer, where we did hire extra security, and we did sit there and supervise every last second of what they were doing inside of that substation, because we needed to keep a close eye to make sure nothing bad happened for them or for us. But it was a good success story, because we went from absolutely not to, all right, well, they seem pretty safety conscious, and what they're asking to do isn't that crazy. It wasn't like a fight scene or a stunt scene, which the answer probably would have been no. But it was a talking scene and a slow driving scene, a delivery van. And so the more we talked to them and the more we heard what they wanted to do, and the more I and some others did internally to kind of smooth the road a little bit, we were able to go from a no to a maybe to a yes, so long as you do X, Y, and Z production. And they were happy with it. And we've had some of those same scouts and some of those same stunt coordinators and and safety folks show up on later productions too, and they still remember that early one that we helped them with.
So Evan, it looks like Mike has joined us. Are you unmuted?
I apologize more. I am so sorry. I thought this was for Tuesday, and I was just totally. I am so sorry. I'm like, I had my phone on the charger. It was the perfect storm. And I'm sorry everybody that I was late. But anyway, I thank you, Evan, for covering that website. You guys did a great job of it. I'm Mike Staples with Georgia Power. I do all the film location stuff and work closely with Evan. He does all the legal stuff, and I'm sure he did a great job explaining all of that. Real quick, I'm going to show you a few things from PowerPoint, because I think the operative word here is, as Evan pointed out, is things aren't always what they appear to be. And they use different looking things in film, or locations that may not be exactly what you want to think. And I'll give you a couple examples of that. In MacGyver here, I'm going to share my screen. As soon as I find the button, share screen, share. I was showing this to the guys last week. This isn't the MacGyver we're doing. It's a funny little joke, but this is MacGyver today, who can't fix his own car. I'll throw that in there. This is our MacGyver, and he's actually on our set. They've green screened in all the stuff in the background of it. So the shot called for, he has to climb and find some sort of code written on one of our very dangerous transmission towers, okay? And that's the whole scene, but that's the scene where they did the shot at. We have training facilities all over the place that are de-energized. As Evan mentioned, we like to shoot those substation scenes in there so it's not as dangerous. And that has, the bells and everything right at ground level. So they just loved it. They were able to move over here and hang them there on that green screen and do that. So when we just went by this practice thing, we had no idea that that would be something that they would be interested in using for the film. And then we actually have a 500 tower, and you can see the stunt people way up there with safety lines climbing around on it as we speak. And there's MacGyver doing his thing there. So that was interesting. And I'm going to skip through a bunch of this stuff real quick here. And I want to get you to preaching to the choir. Remember that. I want to get you to this little scene here. Two of them. This video, if I can get it to play. Play. 1, 2, 2, play. A location scout had told me where that was done, and then where the Truman Show was done on the Paramount studio out there. So they can turn a parking lot like that, put that tarp down on it, flood it with water, and make it, make videos and pretty cool shots. And then they project it up on that screen that you see right there in the background. And this is a pond that we have at Plant Yates. This is where our old power plant used to sit. We tore it down, but we left the foundation there, and we use it to catch silt before we put water back into the Chattahoochee River. So it's a ginormous tub of water that could be filled up and used, and put a screen up very similar to what you saw. You could put boats in it. You could put, you could actually dive in it if you wanted to do that. And then my first man example, this is Plant Share. And when they scouted that, they were looking for something to look like the NASA towers for the Saturn V rocket to go off for first man. And you can kind of see straight there by the stack there, that little area that kind of resembles, and Evan has it on his background screen. But to the left is the real Saturn V launcher, and to the right is our plant that they wanted to emulate. And if you look very carefully, near the top, you can see a little elevator that runs on the outside of it. This was on the inside of the plant that we don't even use this hall anymore. And then they filmed this scene here inside of that. So you never know what kind of nook and cranny that they might be interested in filming in. This is the outside area. And then they shot that little segment right there with Corey. And then that's actually Damien Giselle, or how do you say his name? I can't remember. But he's scouting out the place. But in that location there, the kids are throwing rocks in the water, and they covered up our plant with NASA. So you can see they can do that movie magic that he was talking about. And they built that whole rocket ship on top of the roof of Plant Share. And then this is called layering or masking. So this is the actual shot. If you look carefully, the plant will actually pop up there, see it? And then they mask out that area. And you got the rest of the shot right there. So one other thing I want to show you guys, if I have my Google Earth up here, is all the vast properties we have. And I don't know all the communities that are on here yet, but everything you see in yellow is Georgia Power property. We own a ton of property that we're going to speculative build a new power plant one day, or maybe a substation, or who knows what, but we accumulate a lot of land. That happens to be plant share. We own all that lake and all the property around it. So a lot of times they like, as you just saw, the lake shots. But in any given community, we own property that our forestry people look at too. And they're an interesting group of people. They actually do controlled forest fires all the time. So if you ever need a fire or need to know where there's a fire, those guys can actually find you a nice place that they're actually burning that might come in place. So here's a substation that Evan mentioned, but look at all the right-of-way and stuff they can do. And they like a lot of them are fenced off, and so it's secure and the public can't really get to it. So they do like filming on a lot of that property. I don't know if they mentioned it or not, but we don't just sell Georgia Power property. Since I'm in economic development and we have a whole entire department that helps locate companies here, we're aware of what industries are in most of your communities and probably have a connection with each one of those communities. But when they ask me for something on a building that we don't have, immediately I go, well, wait a minute, up in Cherokee County, they've got a building just like that. So I can put them in contact with the local film rep. In that case, that'd be Molly. And we send projects out your way all the time. So I'm happy to share. I think we should do, this is a great thing that we're all getting together and getting to know each other, because we can pass these things on and make sure they don't get filmed somewhere else. We recently accumulated we bought Atlanta Gaslight, and now it's part of Southern Gas. So a lot of that property is yet to get into our database, but that's something that's promising as well. This is another office. We have satellite offices everywhere. And a lot of times they want to use them for parking, because we have a lot of parking that we just use for storage in the back here, you can see. And so we can let them use that for a base camp in some cases. So does anybody have any questions? Or
Mike, can you walk them through, if they wanted to search georgiapowerfilm.com or I don't even know the site you're on now. I guess that's Google Earth.
this is Google Earth.
But if someone wanted to know, I think the example earlier was, what office spaces does Georgia Power have in Augusta, Georgia? I told them the quickest way might be to call you, but
Yes.
Can you show them, like, how would they go about doing something like that?
You mean as far as our property that we own?
Yeah, like if
Augusta?
if somebody wanted to find an office space, Georgia Power.
Oh, okay. Let me go.
In the Augusta area. How would they pull up a list or a map of the various offices we might have there?
I will show you that as soon as I can find an open web browser. All right. So you go to Georgia Power Film. And the best way to, oh, wait a minute. Okay, that's the wrong one. That's our film. I haven't already showed you that. There's another site that we use in economic development called selectgeorgia.com. And this is, I give this to scouts all the time. It's really amazing. So they're constantly changing it. It has education up here now. So if you go up here to property search, it is very similar to what you just saw that Jeff had designed. So this is all of the industrial property in the state of Georgia. Every one of these lots, okay, or pieces of property. It also contains available buildings. So if you zoom in and I want to see, what is this building right here? I can click on that building and it'll bring up, this one's called 9172 Industrial Drive. So I can click up and get the results or get the information on it. And it actually has the contact name and everything on here if you do a search. So wait a minute, that was it. So that's one way just to visually do it like this. But if I was looking in Augusta for office space, you go this nice little red box. I love this because I'm pretty stupid. Jeff put this in just so I can figure stuff out. So it says, I want to, you click on that. I want to search for in office buildings, okay? And then I can search on them by size over on the left and all this stuff if you want to do that. But there's actually an easier way. If I just take this little box and I want to look in the Augusta area, I make a search like that and let it go. And boom shakalaka on the left, there are 15 office buildings right here that I can look at any time. Here's the old Wells Fargo building. And you can get all the details on it over here. There's no flyer for it. It's built in 1900. This is good news. The Development Authority of Richmond County is controlling it right now. So that would be really easy for Richmond County to get that location into that building. And they love offices that are available right now because, you know, no one's in them, and it's short. Most tenants will do short-term deals easy, and you're not disturbing an office. Like when we do them in Georgia Power, we have people still trying to get work done in them, and it's much more difficult to do that in a working office. Whereas some of these are all empty if you click on them, and you can find them like that. So this is a handy way. So I get requests, you know, because they have base camps near where they're already working. You can help them find a base camp location by using the site data. If I want to go, let's go back to this. I want to search for sites. And I can take my little polygon here and I want to search for all the sites right in that area. And they all come up. There are 19 sites that come up here. And I can pick any one of these, this Gun Club Road site. And I can turn on my aerial by doing that. And I can say, hey, you guys can even film back here if you want. This is a perfect place to film, or park your vehicles, or whatever, you see? So this website is more than just finding buildings and locations for our normal economic development prospects. It can be used big time by the movie industry. Now, I don't tell all the scouts about this because, frankly, it's kind of a cool tool to get them to keep coming to you, and just it's so easy to find them for you yourself, because it's sort of like it's the old cow and the milk thing. You know, if I give them the cow, they don't need the milk. So, is there any questions on this?
Mike, were you when you drew your circle, were you able are you able to do that with a mileage zone?
Yes. Well, Jeff put it in the other thing. You can measure right here. If I wanted to measure out, let me see, I'm clicking, click or tap. There we go. I can measure out, I don't know. Well, that's in feet. I think you can change this to miles and measure. I think we can do it. Here it is right up here. Okay, it's not working. Let me get rid of that. I can change it to miles right here, miles. And so that's 2.4 or 4.5 miles, but you can measure 30 miles out. Google Earth is a lot easier to measure out with. You take that measuring tool right there, and I want to do a circle. I think I can set it to, I think I can set it to 30, but anyway, when I draw this out, you can see that the number's changing in that box. I'm at, 0.85 miles or whatever. I think I can type 30. No, that doesn't work. But Google Earth works well for measuring as well. Let me do it better. There we go. Let's try again. There's a 20-mile circle, but you get the idea of that. So that's a handy tool. And I also have, I don't have it up, but we have a thing called Pix 3D. It is super cool. It is up-to-date photography of the entire state. And I will get you, if you give me I have to have your email, and we can assign a password for you to use it. And while I can't give you the example of it, it shoots in what's called bird's eye, or at an angle. And so you can see all four sides of a building or a piece of property you use. That would also enhance your websites if you captured those images and put them up there. So, because a lot of times the scouts want to get a feel for what's around the area. Am I going to disturb a school or a hospital, or where can I park my trucks? Where can I put my catering? So they can see around that. And the cool thing about this in 3D is super duper accurate. We use it to make our models. You can measure the height of buildings it's within inches. So I used it to get the clearance under a bridge when Ghost Draft was filming, and that was pretty cool. That I didn't have to go out there and make sure that their trucks could get underneath this bridge, or couldn't get underneath the bridge as well. So I've got, let me find my email again. I got another example of a picture. Hang on. Oh, I guess I don't. I have, go ahead.
So this is the, what we're looking at now, this is what our Camera Ready folks could get a login to and check out on their own.
This isn't
Well,
that.
not this, that's Google
Yeah.
Earth. I mean, what you had on before.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, all that other stuff I just showed you is free, and just go to selectgeorgia.com. That's to find sites and buildings. And then our movie stuff that Evan showed you earlier, the photos for that it's under georgiapowerfilm.com. So
but you were talking the login. What they would potentially be able to see via login is the photos you were talking about that show
Yes.
all angles. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and it's in 3D, and it covers much of the state. So whereas Apple and Google don't quite cover all the state, and some of their photography is not up to date, this would be extremely up to date. And again, it shows it in 3 different, or 4 different angles, north, south, east, and west, that you can measure. You can measure the height and see things. It's a magnificent, and it's really high definition. It's what roofers use it actually to measure the square footage of a roof, if that gives you any idea of the detail on it. So that is a powerful tool. But this is selectgeorgia.com right here, and it's real easy to search for anything. I've done it for the state. I think you guys have asked for warehouse space. A lot of times they'll just want something small, 15,000 square feet, something like that, and you can whip up a report of everything in that area and just give it to them, and it's good to go. It's that easy. So I love this. I want to search for office buildings. I draw with this and let it go. So there's only 2 in that area wherever I'm at. You click on it and up it comes. Oh, there's no photo for this one, but you can see there's 11,000 square feet, and it gives you all the information, and it tells you how close it is to other stuff. But usually, here you go. Here's the phone number for the guy, and his name is Jeff Oliskinski, or whatever, however you say that. So you can just, yeah, there you go. You can just call up Jeffrey and see if his building's available. So you might have those gems in your own county and not even know it, because there's tons of data. Let's go back to the roadmap. See all those red spots? Those are all sites. There's over 880 sites that are available for manufacturing. And then buildings, I can't even tell you how many buildings there are. There's just millions of buildings. So you do a search over this whole area right here. We've got 6 office buildings, 31 industrial buildings, 54 sites in just that area. When I click them, they all highlight up, see? And I can click on any, so this is real easy to use. Jeff's done a good job. He got tired of people complaining, so. So is there any questions on that?
I think this is, Mike obviously has a lot of experience figuring out how to search. It does, at least from my perspective, because I don't play with this website on a regular basis, it looks a little daunting, but I think it's one of those things where you do it a few times and you're going to get faster and faster and better at it each time you use it.
Yep.
But it is
if you want, you just call me. I'll search for you or show you how or walk you through it. We're happy to do it. And if you guys want to practice after this Zoom call, since I owe each and every one of you a big apology, I will sit for hours and teach you everything I know about this stuff, which probably won't take you too long. But I'm happy to do that if you want to look for stuff. And then you have an inventory, a running inventory up to date of what's in your community that you might not have known was available before. Because if maybe they're not filming there, but they might want to store stuff. They're always wanting to store stuff. And now with all this COVID stuff going on, who knows what they're going to do? If they might have to serve food indoors. They might have to, I don't know, or use existing cafeterias in an office building that's not full now. So who knows what's going to happen? So this. And
where's your drone footage? We should say that you are very good with the drone. You've shot some beautiful footage around the state.
You guys are just full of, I was late. You guys are being so nice to me. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is just one. I've got some other drone footage. We have 3 drone pilots in our department, and we travel all over the state filming stuff like this. So if we're going through your county, there's nothing to say that we wouldn't stop and go take a look and film your properties for you too, since we're licensed drone pilots. And you really have to be a licensed drone pilot to put this stuff up. Here's another good shot. This is Plant Yates, where we've done a lot of filming with Falcon Winter Soldier. So it's a much better look. They love that look where they can see this, and they were going to film on this roof, but they canceled it. But that's an empty.
I'm not seeing your screen, Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got to share screen.
I think I got to share it.
Duh. Just great, aren't they? Share screen. Let's try that again. And there. You see it now?
I don't. No.
How about now? Good?
Yep. Yep.
You got it? Okay. So here's Plant Yates. They filmed Falcon Winter Soldier here. Nothing like drone footage though. It totally gives them a feel for the size of stuff. There's a lot of interest in that little road that runs alongside of those towers, those cooling towers. And a photo's good, but it doesn't give scale like a flight over. But like I said, if you need us to fly, we're happy to fly. You know, if we're going to, a lot of times we go down to Savannah to fly. So if you're anywhere between Atlanta and Savannah, we'll happily stop off and shoot some of your property for you if you want. This was done, this shot here is just with my iPhone one morning overlooking Atlanta at Plant McDonough. And so if you can capture something like this and put it up, it really adds to the imagination of a director that might want to, you know, see your stuff in a different way. We have old buildings. This is an old trolley station that's in Atlanta that we use for parking mostly because you can see it's fenced in. But what I'm trying to do is get someone to use the whole building and actually refurbish it. It's on the Historical Society's list. So Georgia Power is not going to do anything in that building. So I'm hoping to get an HBO, somebody with some deep pockets to come in, fix the building back up, make it a set for whatever, and then we'll have a working, you know, set after that. The same thing with that pond I showed you at Plant Yates. If we could get an investor to come in and actually fix up stuff, because they'll do that. They'll come in and improve an area, you know. And the working deal I would do with them is say, hey, you guys can you know, keep filming there for free, and then just charge other people after they leave if they needed to do it. So that's all the drone footage I have there. Here's one of me and Shaquille O'Neal. We did a commercial. He came,
show them your office, Mike, just so they can see. Okay. And by the way, for those that don't know, that this office is basically in the bottom of our building or thereabouts in Midtown.
Yeah, this is our community room, we call it. And they came in one night and built a false wall because Shaq had to tear a TV off the wall because he couldn't see it. And so they built this fake wall over our thing here. And they worked so the magnificent. In about an hour it took them to build this false wall. And you can see behind it there, it's real fragile. And then the next day they all show up, put their own conference table in and used our chairs. And Shaq came in and ripped a TV off the wall. So, but you can see how crowded it got. And this was a working office, but thank God it was Shaquille O'Neal. Nobody got mad, right, Evan? I mean.
Oh no, yeah, everyone was so thrilled to see him in the flesh. Yeah. Yeah.
And we were able, this is the shot I wanted because they paid millions of dollars for him to do the commercial. And we got him to stand in front of our sign for free. I don't know that he knew it, but so we got that free advertisement right there. Not that we could use it, but that's that part. What else can I show you? I'll go back to the screen. You guys talk amongst you. I got a picture I want to bring up.
So if anybody on the call wants to contact you about locations, Mike, they would talk to you first.
Yes.
You're the first call.
Yes, please. Or Evan, but I mean, either way, we get Evan involved. I usually pick the brains. That's a great point. So we have a research group. We have a research group that looks up stuff for prospects. You know, our day job is to help companies come to Georgia, and we do that by not only finding sites and buildings, but we have a huge ton of databases and software that our research team uses. So if you make saddles, for instance, we can find out where all the leather manufacturers are and where you'd find that skilled labor for that. So we flipped that over to use it for the movie industry. We had a film that was looking for a period film in the 1930s. They needed sewing machines, right? So we can look for those buildings, as I showed you earlier, but based on what their former use was. So that's called cut and sew. And we could look up all the cut and sew buildings. And since it was a period film, we were able to look up the time the building was built. And so we found about 10 buildings that were built between 1900 and 1940. And we gave that to and then we made a map of it. Paul made a map of it. It was fantastic. So that was like, and it was all free. Everything we do is free. So we don't charge for any of this stuff. So that was a magnificent little tool that research could do. So if you need a certain type of building or you're looking for that, don't hesitate to ask. Now for searches and stuff in your area, we can use that database. I just run over if they're not too busy, because they do have their regular job. But our researchers are great. They love it's like a challenge for them. Who's going to find it first? Like a certain kind of stairwell or a certain whatever. So I pick the brains of everybody across the state. Steve Foster is another good source. A lot of you guys might know him, and because he's been around for so long. And the other thing is, as I mentioned, we probably located that business that's in your community. And so we can pick up the phone because somebody knows that CEO at that company. And we can make those contacts if you need to get a hold of somebody, say Coca-Cola or Chick-fil-A or any of those companies, whatever. We can make those connections for you or help you with that. So does that cover that?
Cool. Yeah, sure does.
You guys keep talking. I'm going to look up.
Yeah.
One more photo.
If anybody has any questions, just unmute your mic and shout it out while we got them here. Otherwise, we'll keep going.
And while Mike's looking for whatever he wants to show y'all, a few things I was thinking last night, like little things I might want to share. I'll just run through them real quick. And you probably are going to know some of this already, but my top 5 pieces of advice for film. Number 1, just be open to the idea of letting folks film. Be easy to work with, but do not be a pushover. Don't get taken advantage of. Like Mike and I do not let ourselves or Georgia Power get taken advantage of, but we are easy to work with. So it's a balancing act. Another thing, Georgia Power and I over the years have established kind of our company's form location agreement. And that governs, interests and concerns that are probably very specific to Georgia Power, especially when you're letting somebody come into like an operating substation or power plant. So we've got some safety and security concerns that the average property owner may not have. So we established our own form. Most of the time though, a film or a TV show, if they want to film on your property or on a property in your community, they've got their little 1 or 2 page standard document that they'll stick in front of you and say, we can pay you $2,000 if you'll sign this agreement. But don't be afraid to read that agreement carefully, and you can ask for changes. That language is not set in stone. And if you have a specific concern that is unique to this property, that you're in charge of, you can write in to the contract and work it out with them to address that concern. So a good example might be you're operating a business and they want to film inside that business for half a day, and that that's going to end up, that's going to end up costing you, $2,000 of lost revenue for the day. Well, they'll pay you for that, and they should pay you for that, because if you normally would have earned $2,000, but them filming means you've got to stop serving your customers for 6 hours, or you've got to close your shop, but still maybe pay your employees for the day. Those are things the film or TV show should pay you back for, just like we ask them to pay us back for if we need to hire extra security to make sure everybody stays safe or our facilities don't get touched and damaged. So don't be afraid to ask for changes. A lot of times I think people just assume a contract might be take it or leave it. And if that's not really the case. Another piece of advice, don't get greedy, but also don't get swindled. So they are not going to offer you generally the most they can offer you the first time they say, I want to film on your property, I'll give you $1,000. Well, that's probably not the top of their budget, but you also don't want to come back and say, no, 1,000's not good, let's make it 10,000. Because then you're going to be seen. They may, if they really like that property, they may say, okay, fine, we'll pay you $10,000. They may eventually say that, but they're not going to be happy about it, and they're probably not going to call you again. And so Mike and I think, do a good job of making sure we are charging in the ballpark of what would be like fair market value for what they want to do on our properties. Because we don't want to raise the market prices for film, but we also don't want to like falsely lower them either. Because then other property owners are going to be getting taken advantage of. So we're trying to charge what is deemed by the scouts to be a fair amount, something they would expect to pay.
If I can add on to that, we were fortunate enough for Ghost Draft to get a tour at the Blackhall Studios, and I've seen a lot of empty studios, never been in one that a set was built on, and I'm honestly, my jaw hit the floor, and that is for real. They built an ice cave that was as big as a football field. It had an actual river running through it, and that's because their shoot up in Iceland didn't go well, because it was too cold and it was just too hard to shoot. So if you price yourself out of something, they'll just go, oh, we'll just do this in the studio. And it's a controlled environment. They can control the lighting. They can control the temperature. It doesn't rain. So don't make that price point advantageous between them building it themselves in a studio, because they have the skills and that. One more thing I want to show you guys. Were you done, Evan, on that part?
The last thing I'll mention is be patient and do not get discouraged, because so much of this is subjective, and you may think like, why has no one asked to film on this, in this building or at this property? It's perfect. And it may just be a matter of time. Like, you never know what they're looking for. You never know what shot they're trying to get. And so you put your stuff out there, or your community's properties out there that are available for filming, and then just be patient and be helpful to the scouts when they do call. And eventually, I think you'll get the right call, and someone will eventually come to you.
If I can add on to that, one thing I learned is, and I learned quick, is if they ask you, and they almost always do, has anyone else filmed here? The answer is always no, no, no. Because if you tell them yes, directors want to be the one that discover that location. I found this spot. Just we do it. I just say no. I don't know. I don't think so. And then, because first of all, they make it look different. But it's almost like once it's been used, they won't use it again. So I've got an entrance to 241 that's closed off that we no longer use, but it's super cool. It's super nice. It's like an FBI building. It's waiting to film. Something's waiting there. But I don't let a low budget, I won't even show it to a low budget film, because I want that to be a reoccurring thing. Like Molly's fortunate to have Ozark. If they keep coming back, oh my gosh, they do a whole film up there, then you can really, really benefit from that. I
just wanted to throw in there, getting back to the pricing discussion, that I think this is all great information for our Camera Ready folks to have, perhaps they'll be approached by homeowners or business owners asking about, well, how much should I charge? But they, like us, we try to stay out of those location negotiations and not try to set a fee on behalf of someone else, because we don't want to impact the negotiations for either party. But I think everything you just said is good information for them to have in case they ever get asked how to like you said, not be price gouged, but be fair.
Yeah, it's hard to know. I mean, there are times when Mike and I don't know for sure that we're charging too little or too much, but we try our best to make sure we're charging what we think is a fair amount. And then through discussions with the scouts, we try to get to a place where we feel like they also think it's the right amount.
Yeah, sometimes I let them say the number first, and then I go, oh, make a face, and then they go up a little bit. But a lot of times I'm pleasantly surprised they offer more than I was expecting to even charge them. So that works out pretty good.
And it's also helpful for not just private property, but also city and county property that some of our liaisons may be the contact for when they start thinking about what the fee should be. Just have those concepts in mind.
But Georgia Power, we're here to help. So we don't try to jack prices up. We're here to help the state's effort and film any way we can. And so price isn't, believe it or not, the important part for us to do. It's ours to make it happen. But the morale is a great example. When we're all done, most of the people that weren't heavily involved are really thrilled, and they can go back home and watch a movie that was filmed there. The picture I have up in here was when we took that tour, they let us look at some of the artist renderings of what the scenes were going to be. This is the Chris Pratt movie. Now it's called The Tomorrow War. But they needed this futuristic oil rig looking place that was out in the middle of the ocean, where they were going to have the last big fight against the aliens at. So this was the artist rendering that you see right there. And then when they drove by our plant, McDonough, right there in Atlanta, you can see that all this infrastructure in here was exactly what they want. And they spent 2 weeks, at least 3 weeks altogether, filming up and down all around, shooting machine guns off of there, and Chris Pratt running over these bridges right here, water cannons shooting up from here. They had a drone that would take off from this platform and fly over. So they used this platform for their staging area and all of their food crew. There's no elevators, and believe me, it's brutal taking the stairs. So they came in and built an elevator here. You can get temporary elevators, and they built an elevator here. Chris Pratt took the stairs, by the way, ladies. I'm just saying, all the time. So, but anyway, that's what they see everything, and a lot of times they don't. They go away from me. I'm standing there giving them a tour. They don't want me to hear something. They go over and whisper. So I'm not even sure what they're talking about doing half the time, because they don't really include you on the discussions and things. But then they kind of wrap it up and say, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then it worked out really well. The plant was very patient because there was an army, and I mean an army of trucks and people shooting that film here. So that was kind of a cool thing. Let me go back.
And just to chime in real quick, Mike, another good example of us being helpful to a film or to the scouts. Their main reason for going to that plant was to film the scenes Mike was just talking about, but they also happened, I think, just through like discussions, mentioned like, do you guys know if there's any, like, do you have anything that looks kind of like a lab or like a scientific office building? And turns out not far from, like, walking distance really from the plant, is another property that we own, which is our environmental lab that does sampling of our water and soil. And it is a legitimate laboratory and looks like it is a modern day laboratory. And we mentioned it to them, we showed it to them, and they ended up filming some scenes inside of there too. And it was convenient for them because it was right near where they were already filming.
And we gave them, since they're using multiple locations, we cut them a price deal. which really helped them because they tell me they paid a lot when they rented Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So that went way over budget. So we were happy to help them do that. And I can't wait. This film's going to be great. So very excited about that one.
Well, Mike, do you have anything else, or are we getting
No, I'm
towards
good.
the end?
I'm good. Again, I apologize. I thought it was tomorrow. I'm so sorry. I hope you guys were entertained by Evan.
You showed everything I wanted you to show, so it all worked out.
Woohoo!
Yeah, if you don't mind, yeah, I'd like about 8 hours of training today, Mike. I know you're on vacation, but I got nothing, so.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, right after this.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Let me grab a beer.
Okay.
Well, you know he's available at 11 o'clock tomorrow, so call him.
Yes. I have it blocked out. That was a good one. Perfect.
Anyone else have any questions while we're here? Or so Mike and Evan, just to wrap up, what are we going to do as far as I'm going to send out your information to the group, Mike, or both of you, and you can talk about getting the login to the.
Yep. I'll need
the
your
site
email
that we
address.
talked about.
I'm happy. It's free, and this is expensive software. We use it, but we've got 100 seats of it, and we only need 5 of it. So it's very nice software. You'll love it. It's better than Google Earth, arguably. So.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike
Anybody else?
and Evan.
Sure.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we're done. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Bye.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks so much for having it. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
For the information.